Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. Iron Port is proudly brought to you in association with the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Ghana Revenue Authority, Goel Company Limited, Serene Insurance, and Ghana Link Network Services, the operators of the integrated customs management system at our ports. The program is also streamed live on our social media pages. If you go to Facebook, we are at Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA Ghana. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA Ghana. We are streaming there live. On YouTube, we are at Eye on Port Ghana. Eye on Port Ghana. Our media partner is the Business and Financial Times, the BNFT. If you want to have a grasp of all that transpired on the show tonight, make a date and grab the Thursday edition of the BNFT, and you'll be able to see all that happened here on the show. We shall be getting interactive with you, and so you can send us your messages and comments ahead on our WhatsApp line, which is 0559-019-177, 0559-019-177. At the appropriate time, we shall also activate our phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. My name is Kennedy Mona. We'll be back shortly.
Every now and again, Goel makes good things happen. This time, Goel has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goel Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goel Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goel Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goel Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goel has that sorted. Goel, good energy.
Electricity, pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse, and my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Suddenly my goods are on the high seas covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor,
I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance
for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
All right, so you're welcome back. It's now time for us to take a look at some of the happenings in the port and maritime industry in the course of the week. And the much-awaited Tema Kosumbo petroleum pipelines were received at the port of Tema in the course of the week. And in the port of Takoradi, the first Ghanaian offshore supply vessel was commissioned also in the course of the week. And Ghana's leading oil marketing company, Goel Company Limited, continues to reward its loyal customers across the country. Let's take a look at these stories.
The port of Takoradi has witnessed the commissioning of the first Ghanaian-owned, Ghana-flagged supply vessel, which will support offshore oil and gas industry activities in Ghana. The anchor handling tug supply vessel, MV Flag Confidence, with length of 70 meters and carrying capacity of 1,000 596 tons, was acquired by Flat Sea Marine Offshore following a long-term contract granted by Tullow Ghana that enabled the company to raise finances to procure the vessel. The vessel will provide support during oil exports to both of Tullow's floating production, storage and offloading systems, Kwame Nkrumah and John Evans Atta Mills. Deputy Managing Director of Tullow Ghana, Cynthia Lumo, says the presence of the Flat Confidence vessel reflects the firm's commitment to develop and support local capacity growth.
We have taken deep, considered assessment of our involvement in the industry, and we've come to the conclusion that we must sharpen our focus on investing in the oil and gas industry in Africa.
The CEO of Flat Sea Marine Offshore Limited, Captain Francis Boache, highlighted a journey that led to this milestone in Ghana's offshore maritime industry. The director of the Port of Takoradi, Captain Ebenezer Afezi, assured the ship owners of the port's support to the company's operations.
We want to assist them to operate and operate very well, so that at least we'll have more Ghanaians owning vessels to work in Ghana.
Deputy Minister of Energy Andrew Ejapamesa said the landmark occasion ties in with the vision for a Ghana that is beyond aid.
If we are to realize a Ghana that is truly beyond aid, we must take bold steps to build the requisite capacities, skills and competencies needed for accelerated development in the country.
About 5,400 12-inch pipes expected to be used to expand the petroleum transportation line between Tema and Akosombo have been delivered through the port of Tema. The pipes, which cost Ghana about $63.2 million and an additional $8 million to refurbish them, will cover a distance of 70 kilometers. The delivery of the said pipes had, however, been stalled for over 12 years since its procurement as a result of the bulk storage and transportation company and the U.S. supplier not being able to reach an amicable agreement to pave way for shipment. When installed, it is expected to reduce the cost of transportation of Ghana's bulk petroleum products drastically while delivering 2 billion litres on an annual basis. Installation of the pipes is expected to be done mid-2022 for about a period of 18 months. Speaking to the press during the official handing over ceremony, the board chairman of the bulk storage and transportation company, Echo Hackman, remarked that the company's transformational agenda is clearly demonstrated through the arrival of the pipes in Ghana.
I'd like to assure the general public, the management and staff of the company that the board will continue to support the management in the fulfillment of its strategic plan to turn the company into the strongest actor in the downstream sector of our part of Africa, providing fuel security to the nation and others in the region.
Managing Director of BOST, Edwin Provençal, revealed that the installation of these pipes is in line with the company's strategy to improving the proportion of product volumes carried through the cheapest transportation channel.
This arrival could not have come at a better time than now, when the reactivation of the Bolgatanga depot for export has made it more than necessary for high volumes of petroleum products to be transferred between Tema and Akosombo for onward distribution to Buipe through the river barges to meet the surging demand in the northern sector as well as the landlocked countries.
The BOST MD revealed that the company is poised to improve operational efficiency, expand its assets, and contribute meaningfully to Ghana's strides to benefit from the African Free Continental Area.
A properly functioning BOST will surely serve as an instrument for maximizing the return the nation could derive from the Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement through the importation and re-exportation of petroleum products in the West African sub-region, which will shore up our reserves and contribute to the stability of our foreign exchange rate. This is because we will export in United States dollars and use the same amount of money to import the petroleum products in United States dollars.
Ghana's very own GOIL has continued to reward its cherished customers with a variety of goods and services in its AfCFTA promo. Ghana's leading oil marketing company is offering fuel, souvenirs, and additional services free of charge to its customers as a token of appreciation for their patronage all year round. At the GOIL station in Danfa, the company marked the 1-year anniversary of the station by providing free health screening to its customers.
And yes, you turn good food, but we also think about the health of our customers. So that's the reason why today we are here. We organized health screening for our customers, and it was so amazing.
She encouraged motorists to continue purchasing the highest grade of fuel available on the market at GOIL stations.
We know some people or some industries, they are selling the RON 95 high grade, but the price is so high that ordinary customer cannot buy it. But GOIL, we are selling the RON 95 at the price of 91, which is an indication that we think about our customers.
Some participants in the screening exercise shared their experience.
I'm happy. I'm happy I went through the process because I've gone to learn a lot of things about my health which I have to take serious.
I'm very impressed that you are giving us this thing freely. And today, I think today is my first time I'm enjoying this thing.
Meanwhile, at the Ashaiman GOIL station, motorists around the area benefited from the ongoing AfCFTA promo. Souvenirs such as t-shirts, umbrellas, Bluetooth speakers, tissue boxes, waste bags, as well as free fuel were awarded to the various commercial and private drivers who bought from the station.
From since I'm going 3 years now, me nya pump case ni problem bia me engine ewa honde me de kwa fra ni bibia.
Because when you are using GOIL fuel, you can't change your plugs continuously. When you change one plug, it will take you a long time before you change another plug. So the GOIL fuel is very fine.
Today I happened to chance on a promotion going on and I won a Bluetooth speaker. I'm so happy. I'm grateful. Thank you, GOIL.
The Tema Zonal Manager Rita Addo indicated that GOIL holds its customers very dearly, hence the need to continue appreciating them for their patronage.
So important to us because we have over 100 filling stations, but customers choose to remain with GOIL and they choose to be faithful to us. So we think it's good and it's opportune time for us to also reward them. Just driving here with your aboboya, your tricycle, taxis, trotros, anything that you use fuel to do. If you buy for your genset, we say come here and get something for yourself for being faithful to us.
She urged the public to take advantage of the promo, which ends before next year.
We're rewarding all our customers now for patronizing our products. We want to tell them that thank you. That's why we say AfCFTA promo. They should know that buying from GOIL, they will never go wrong. We have so many things on display today, which we are giving out to them.
All right, so it's time for us to now take a look at happenings in the port and shipping industry internationally.
Having achieved significant progress with solar and offshore wind energy developments, the UK government is now extending its financial support to tidal energy as the next logical step in its efforts to support the development of multiple forms of renewable energy. The government will dedicate nearly $27 million annually to tidal stream electricity projects as part of an overall program valued at $380 million annually for renewable energy projects. One of the most challenging ferry routes in northern Norway is set to go all electric, according to the Norwegian Public Roads Administration. The agency has signed a $180 million contract with operator Thorgensen Nord to switch to battery-powered vessels on the Bonus-Lodingen route located above the Arctic Circle. The 10-year charter begins in January 2024. Bloomberg reports that Danish forces of the frigate Esbern Snare have killed 4 suspected pirates in the Gulf of Guinea, south of Nigeria. The frigate on Wednesday responded to alerts of increased pirate activity in the area where the vessel has been deployed to protect private trade ships. Special forces approached a small motorized vessel with 8 people on board, who then opened fire. The Danish troops returned fire, killing 4 and wounding 1, while the small vessel sank. The remaining 3 suspected pirates are in custody.
All right, so you're welcome back. It's now time for us to zoom into our discussion proper tonight. And this evening, we're taking a look at the impact of the E-Levy on digital trading under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Remember, recently the Finance Minister read the 2022 government economic policy and the budget statement in Parliament. And one thing that stood out in that particular statement or budget was the E-Levy. And it has drawn a lot of attention from the generality of the Ghanaian people. And so tonight, I want to take a look at the impact of this particular levy on digital trading as far as the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is concerned. And so we have in the studios here tonight Mr. Louis Awaful, who is a trade practitioner and AfCFTA expert. He's also an AfCFTA policy network. He's from the AfCFTA Policy Network Group. And we also have in the studios Mr. Apia Kusi Adumako, who is the West Africa Regional Director, CATS International, here in Ghana, Accra. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on the show tonight.
Thank you.
Right. So let me begin with you, Mr. Adumako, and find out, just briefly tell us what CAT International is all about. What do you do?
Okay, thank you very much. CAT is a global research and policy think tank which has been existent for the past 40 years, and we are represented in almost all the continents in the world. So in Africa, we have 3 regional offices. Accra is for the West African region, Nairobi is for the Eastern Africa, and then Lusaka for the Southern Africa. Then we have an office in Geneva and Washington, D.C., as well as 4 other offices in Asia, Hanoi in Vietnam, and Jaipur and New Delhi. Yes, and CAT, we work largely on the areas of trade. So trade is in our DNA, and we've been part of the AfCFTA process since 2013. And also we work in the area of competition, ensuring that there's a fair, the market level playing field is even for everybody. So we assist government across the world to develop efficient competition policies and regulations to guide the conduct of the market. And one of the things we also do is consumer protection.
Right.
And in Ghana, too, we've also been working with the Ministry of Trade to formulate the consumer protection law.
Right.
Thank
okay,
you.
so go ahead, straight up. From your point of view, from CATS, what's your assessment? You said you've been working, you've been in the process, you've been part of the process from day one.
Yes.
Now tell us what your assessment of our performance is as a country since we started.
I think so far Ghana's performance, I'll give it, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give it 8 over 10 in terms of how our institutions of state have been working since day one. In most African countries, the knowledge gap is wide. State institutions are not aligned with the rules of AfCFTA, but in Ghana, I think that we've done well. For example, the first shipment under the AfCFTA, which took place on the 1st of January 2001, here, by the time the goods got to the other side, the receiving country, those people were not aware of the rules of origin, so they still wanted to apply the taxes on it. And even when it comes to rules of origin, for example, recently the Customs Authority, the Ghana Revenue Authority trained close to 500 custom officials nationwide on rules of origin implementation. And Ghana is the first country under the AfCFTA to have done that. And I think because also the Secretariat is also situated in Accra here, government is doing very well to ensure that we become the SI unit for AfCFTA implementation. Though there are some challenges there, but I think that on the whole, 1 year under the trading, if you ask me, I would still say that it's still 8 over 10.
Right. Okay. Mr. Aful, 8 over 10?
Yes, I think that I wrote an article the last time and I said we're almost about 50%. And I think if you convert 50% to it's 8 over 10, maybe it's more a bit up. I think that from the point that he made with respect to institutions, I think that yes, 8 over 10. I think that there is more for us to do. But in terms of comparatively with other countries that we started with, that we first became those who ratified, I think that I will still push us to about probably 7/10.
Okay.
Because we need to use the BIAT as our yardsticks, because the BIAT is the boosting intra-African trade. Those are the pillars by which that AfCFTA will be measured if really member states are performing. And I think that out of the 7 pillars that are guiding principles of AfCFTA implementation or personalization, I think we have a lot of few, especially trade infrastructure and trade finance. And these two are very key to the spirit of AfCFTA.
Right.
So yes, on institutional performance, I will agree with Adomako on the 8. But I think when it comes to the pillars of implementation, I will still see that we have about 7/10.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the E-Levy and its impact on, digital trading as far as AfCFTA is concerned. I know this is something you have taken time to assimilate and digest and perhaps have come up with some thoughts as far as the announcement by the Minister for Finance is concerned. Tell us about your thoughts.
Permit me to read what the proposed levy, which is coming in force in February 2022, is charging 1.75% of the value of electronic transactions. And it covers mobile money payment, bank transfers, merchant payments, and inward remittances. The originator of the transaction will bear the charge except for inward remittances, which will be borne by the recipient. There is an exemption for transactions up to 100 Ghana cedis or $16 per day. Now, according to the finance minister, total digital transactions for 2020 were estimated to be over 500 billion, about $81 billion, compared to 78 billion, that is 12.5 billion in 2026, which means there has been a huge growth in just 5 years. Let us make a distinction clear. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement, the digital trading, which is a proposed protocol. This time it is at the committee stage, so it has not gone to the heads of states for them to even approve.
Yeah.
So let me say at the secretariat, it's at the committee level. It's not a proposed. Currently, there is no at draft stages. It has not even gone much into negotiation because it's still at draft stages, because it has to now move to the RECs, the regional economic blocks, for inputs and what have you. But obviously, there are certain characteristics that will go with the electronic or digital trading or e-commerce. One of them is soft infrastructure. It will be key. It's one of the features. Distribution is going to be one of the features of e-trading or digital trading. Another important feature is also going to be distribution. How we're having how the goods going to be distributed through. And if you look at all these, then it now asks the question of what you just asked about the E-Levy. Basically, I think that most governments are going to take this approach because most of trading has been in the informal sector. And because most trading have been in the informal sector, it's very difficult for governments to raise revenue internally. And so one of the ways that most governments are using, including what we are hearing, is to really widen the tax net to target the informal sector. And again, you realize that even at the continental free trade level, it might not affect digital trade even if it was enforced much, because it is not done at the border. This transaction is internal. Then again, I will have issue not with the fact that there is a levy, but I'm thinking that the rate is something that needs to be reviewed. Maybe from 1.75, I'm thinking between the 0 point something or 1%, because already when you are talking about tax, it's not the tax that you are raising that makes people worry. It is about the fairness of it, the timing of it, and then what expectations people like to get from the tax that you collect. So in terms of E-Levy, whether we come out with E-Levy or not, mobile money is still going to continue. People are going to use mobile money. again, whether we say that we are going to increase it or reduce it, we will surely have to do it because there are still more people within the informal sector. And so in terms of African Continental Free Trade, even if the digital trading was available today, it will be an opportunity for governments to use that same approach to be able to tackle the informal sector, which mostly people cannot account for in terms of paying taxes. But in terms of mobile money, whether you are doing it through transfer, whether you're doing it through internal remittance or whatever it is, you will surely have a way of going through that kind of means. So I think it is a positive direction, but I think that the rate is what I would think that it is supposed to be looked at. And finally, I think that within the African Continental Free Trade, we have what we call the trade-in services, which has been liberalized. And 5 priority sectors, including ICT, information computer technology,
communication technology,
most telecommunication companies fall within this category. And therefore, under AfCFTA, currently, if you take giant companies like the telecoms we have here, if they are not from Ghana, it means they are investing in Ghana. If they are from other member states of AfCFTA countries, what it means is that they are supposed to be exposed to what we call fairness. So it means that if you are asking a Ghanaian telecommunication levying maybe 1.8 on a foreign participatory telecom communication, you are levying 1.7 on the Ghanaian one, then the company that is coming from other member states will have what we call the national treatment on fairness. But we have not reached there yet.
Right. All right, so let me come to you. You know, when we come to Ghana, 90% of government revenue is taken from taxes or tariff, you know. And with AfCFTA, we know there's zero tariff on some items, which translates into a dip in revenue for government. Is the E-Levy the way to go in order to bridge this gap?
I think AfCFTA has its short-term challenges to government revenue measures, and we know that with the introduction of AfCFTA, revenue that would have accrued from imports from African countries will be exempted, and so government will need to find a way to be able to recover those sort of things. However, the E-Levy, in my assessment, is not the way to plug in the gap that have been occasioned by the introduction of AfCFTA and removal of tariffs on goods coming into the country. We understand that government needs a lot of money to finance the development agenda. And of course, we also know that taxes is the subscription that we pay to live in a civilized society. And so if you want to live in a country where you want to enjoy better roads, better services, then you have to pay your subscription. And subscription payment is through taxes. And as a country, we also know that our tax to GDP ratio has been down way below the African average, and even when you even look at OECD, we are even a negative side of the outliers from the OECD point of view. And when government is considering how to rake in money, we've known in this country that government approach has been the path of least resistance, the low-hanging. And so the low-hanging is the E-Levy, which becomes more like an inescapable levy that everybody who is wired on the E-platform would have to pay. But before you introduce such a levy, you also need to be guided by international best practices. What does the literature say? I mean, there was, when similar thing was introduced in Kenya, it had negative repercussion on the country. And so for me, I don't believe that a lot of research and reasoning went into the introduction of the E-Levy. For government, they are looking at a quick way, less expensive, because in taxes, you don't want to spend so much money to collect taxes. Then it becomes very not the best for you. But this one, government will not have to mount offices and other things, just electronic, so the data will be there, and those data can be monitored digitally. Yes, so that is why for me, government went to that. But government also needed to have looked at what will be the impact of the E-levies on businesses. Already for the past 5 years, government has been pushing digitization and cashless society. And that has seen what we call the high velocity of money. So for example, if I owe you 1,000 Ghana cedis and I send it to you by Momo, and if you also owe your supplier, you can also immediately send the money to your supplier. The money doesn't need to go to bank the following morning or move the money from one person from Kumasi to Accra, and then Accra person takes to Takoradi, and Takoradi takes you to Elibo. By the time the final person gets the money, almost a week would have elapsed. But this E-levy is kind of helping to increase economic activities. And so when, in economics, when you do, when something like this comes, people would want to find a way to switch. And the switching side will not be the best. Though, because we are now used to electronic transaction and its convenience, switching will not necessarily be easy. But for somebody, the 1.75 alone makes a lot of impact for him. Already, we've been talking about the 1% that the telecom companies take when you send money to be on the high side, because at the other side of the Atlantic, when you send money from your PayPal or Google Pay or Zelle, you don't pay any charges on it. We come to developing countries, and global multinationals are making money in Africa. The same company could not have charged the same 1% if that services was being rendered in Europe or America. And then government has also seen it as an opportunity to also rake in. Let me take us back in 2015 or 14. The previous administration came with taxes on financial services.
Right.
And then that gave a kind of approval for government to also tax those services, but which for me was even wrong in the first place. For example, if you go and use your ATM card in a third bank machine, you are charged 5 cedis or 10 cedis, and then government charges you. But meanwhile, in most countries that I've been to, a third-party ATM transaction attracts no fee.
Okay.
You go to Europe, you go to the UK, for example, they don't attract fees. But these same banks come to Africa and then they want to charge us. And our government, because we are not looking at a better way of expanding the network, decide to legitimize I don't want to say it's illegality, but government wants to legitimize the actions of the financial institution by also taxing it.
Right.
And MPP came in 2017, and then they removed it as a form of a nuisance tax. And here we are in 2021, we've seen electronic taxes on. For me, I think that government needs to have a full rethink on the E-levy in a way that it will not take us backwards in terms of how the speed at which we are moving in terms of trying to digitalize the economy. We know for the first time that Momo transaction has exceeded the bank transfers, which is very good. It means that we have more money in the bank. Now Momo is also part of the financial ecosystem. And so it means that at every point in time, we have a lot of resources that even people can have, banks can have access to those funds and meet their short-term or overnight borrowing needs.
Right.
But when we want to do this, a lot of people may say, look, it doesn't worth to, if I want to transfer 100,000 Ghana cedis from somebody in Kumasi, it doesn't worth the 1.75. I might have to even ask my brother to fly from Kumasi to Accra and pay, because the time, even if I pay him 1,000 Ghana cedis, it will still be worth that. And so, as Louis said, even to start with, the 1.75 is not the best to start with. You remember in 1994, when the VAT came, it started at 17.5. And there was a huge demonstration that led the then government to suspend the VAT. And then when they reintroduced it later, they started with 10%, and then in 2000, the Get Fund levy came to make it 12, and then President Kufuor added the 2.5 on the NHIL, and then the National Infrastructure Fund also added another 2.5 to it. And so when you are starting something, you need to start on a small scale. Let's say 0.005. People will not see it, and then once
they don't feel the effect,
they will not feel the effect. But 1.75 to me is
quite on the high side.
Yes, and also government could have also negotiated with the telecoms, the mobile companies, to have also reduced their charges from 1% to, let's say, 0.75. And the government can then also put its 0.25%.
So that you all sum up to 1%.
1%. And then as time goes on, we kind of increase it marginally. But this leap start for me is not the best. Looking at a society where people are very have dislike for financial services. In the past, when people are traveling from Kumasi to Accra, they would like to carry money on them. Even our mothers and sisters who were crossing the borders to Togo, they would prefer to change the safer and put the money and tie them onto their waistband. But now, because of this platform, those kind of things, they don't have to do that.
So once their money is on their phones, just go and then you digitally transact.
And now that we are coming to introduce this, most people will look at, for somebody, the 1.7% means a lot to the person. So the person will not be willing to, do
that transaction, digitally.
And also another thing is that sometimes you may have to be receiving money from people. You need a bailout. And as people are sending you money, each of them is paying 1.75. And once you get it and it's aggregated, when to send to the other person, the final recipient, that also attracts 1.75. So long as the money is being moved within the platform, you are paying money. And I think there should be even a cap. Now they have a minimum threshold. There should also be a cap that maybe at a particular month or so, nobody should be charged certain amount of money based upon your volume of your transfer, so that people will still find it as a very, useful and revenue friendly. But for me, again, the 1.75 is on the high side.
On the high side.
Yes.
Okay. Let me come to you, Mr. Afful, and find out whether you think that it is prudent for us to consider taking a look at the tariff lines, given the latest developments.
You mean the tariff lines of AfCFTA?
Absolutely.
Let me add a quick thing. You see, I think that Ghana finds itself in a position where you are hosting the African Continental Free Trade.
Yes.
Number one. Number two, people are by nature not against taxes in per se, but there are a lot of things that need to be considered. The expectations from the taxes that have been collected. And so because if you go to Europe, a lot of countries take more taxes than here. But in most of the times, you don't receive much agitations because they feel that what the taxes have been used for, they are satisfied. And so one of the things that the challenges facing developing countries is that sometimes leaders, when the taxes are collected, the question they need to ask themselves that do they really satisfy the public contract that they have with the people? Have you used, for example, I am looking at, if you take taxes, whatever sector that you pick the taxes from, those sectors must be developed. If the sectors are coming from hard infrastructure, soft infrastructure, education, whatever levies or whatever, if it's from the health side, people are expecting that those taxes will really see the end of the day with improvement. And I think that the government should have tested the waters differently in imposing this new, because you could have engaged the people to really test the waters. When I say engage the people, there was a need for a certain kind of sensitization and education, research, and find out. Because look, even though if you compare the revenue that was generated between 2016 and 2020 in terms of electronic the electronic tax or whatever came from the telecos, even though the gap is huge, in other words, government made a lot of gains, you should also realize that the conditions have changed. we are in COVID, post-COVID, and recovery has been very slow. And so maybe during 2016, the kind of revenue that we're accruing was based upon certain performances that had nothing to do with COVID. But now COVID came 2019, 2020, and even almost 2021. So if you rely upon the data in 2016 that, oh, okay, we did it in 2016 and the revenue that came from electronic tax was very good, and so we're going to do the same in 2021, you might be wrong, because in 2020, 2021, COVID has slowed down a lot of productive activities.
Right.
And therefore, that rate is an issue. However, in terms of the question that you asked me about tariff lines, we should prepare ourselves. Look, anybody that calls for a free trade, he calls for competition. That is number one, unless you are out of it. Secondly, we have to realize that we will forever, we will whatever be the case, I'm not sure that this will be pulled out entirely. Ghana has signed to an agreement, and whatever be it, in some few years to come, we are heading towards a zero tariff or import-free on about 90% category of certain products. Where are you going to get the other money? Where are the governments going to get the revenue? That is the big question to all free trade members. Whatever we are going to liberalize, you should fill the gaps. Even though it's not going to be so much significant in the early stages, like the first 3 years, but after some years, where are you going to get the shortfalls? And also, mind you, the continental free trade is encouraging their members to make sure that they generate a lot of revenue internally and to shy away from borrowing from outside. And so the governments have very difficult tasks. You are now in a free trade. You are liberalizing 90% of your products over some period of years. Where are you going to get alternative revenue? Now you also don't want to go and borrow from outside because you are going to struggle with GDP per your debt ratios. So therefore, they have to now look for other avenues of widening its tax. And that is one of the reasons I think that every government is going to look for. In fact, even though some might not have started, they will soon do it. Now, if you look at the tariff lines that Ghana or ECOWAS is having, we have about 4,000 tariff lines. In other words, about 4,000 category of products. That is not a joke. And in a layman's terms of words, it means that this 4,000 category of products, in some years to come, there will be zero. They will pay nothing on it. Where are you going to make up for the mop? Then you have to now start doing your homework. And so I am saying that looking at the tariff line that we are offering, about 4,000, we need to really start looking at other revenue generating streams. If we want to go by this, I am not against the levy in totality. I'm rather saying that we should reduce it and we should look at the timing. The timing is not the right timing because we are just from COVID recovery and most activities have slowed down. And so I think that we need to now start looking at other areas. Forget not, continental free trade is not only about export. It's also about import. And the impact of import, what that means, import is that, for example, if I want to buy an oil, cooking oil, which has been made in Togo, because the agreement through rules of origin gives me the originating status from Togo, it means the oil that is coming from Togo, if I am here and we liberalize, I will not pay any duty on the oil that is coming from Togo. So it means, therefore, that if government was making a certain revenue from 20-footer container of oil, now that it is free, I'm going to import about, let's say, 12 40-footer containers, and I'm not going to pay any duty on that. That is a shortfall revenue to the government. So what are you going to do? So I think that based on this, there have to be a lot of engagement to find out the alternative ways as we progress in this African continental free trade. Not only just through E-Levy, but the fact that other priority sectors. Forget not that Michael was making a good point. You see, the banks, currently, one of the important we have to know is that, look, let's just be honest with ourselves. A lot of people in the informal sector don't pay tax. A lot. And so, and it's a fact there that currently, within the ECOWAS region, we are about 13% compared to GDP. Other countries, Cote d'Ivoire and the rest, and the benchmark is 22% of your tax collection. But Ghana is about 13%. Meaning a lot of people in the informal do not pay tax. And so it puts a lot of burden on the few that are paying the tax. Therefore, we are not going to run away from paying taxes, but then the timing and the fairness and also what the taxes to be used for should be such that everybody is going to benefit. That is very, very key. I was making another point that, look, currently there is levies on health. I'm sure we are paying some taxes there. What is the improvement? When you go towards energy, street lights, you pay, there's something you pay, something on it. So, and currently, if you take the banks, most of them don't have branches beyond certain rural areas. And therefore, you realize that electronic transfer of money through the mobile money system is really going to stay. It's not going to change today. Because why? If there is a bank who is supposed to engage in the transfer, maybe in a very distant village, and mobile money can go, then of course people are going to go through the approach of the mobile money system. Therefore, what I'm trying to say is that it is rather even helping the banking system, but the rate should be talked about so that everybody will be on board. This is how I'm foreseeing it.
Right. Okay. So, do you foresee a trend where other African countries might want to also introduce something like an E-Levy? Because Ghana's situation is similar to the rest of the African governments, because they all rely on taxes as their major source of revenue.
Yes,
so
like
do you foresee this happening?
Yes, it is. Like I'm saying, the Continental Free Trade Agreement is not barring any member country. Kenya is doing it. In fact, Kenya is one of the people who even started. But what I'm saying is that these are internal generating of funds. And I'm saying that there is no way you are infringing upon the activity of another member state. The only point where I said that where African Continental Free Trade issue will be in the negative is whereby, for example, under the services sector, trading services, under trading services, you have ICT, which has been liberalized. And there may be a company under good regulation, you are supposed to deregulate. There may be two companies. Let's take MTN, which is maybe a South African company. Okay, it's entering the market in Ghana. Okay, and then there is a Ghanaian-owned telecom. Okay, and then the levy is said that you say, oh, because MTN is coming from South Africa, let me levy it 1.9%. And then you say, oh, because Ghana, company X is from Ghana, I'll levy 0. That is what after will be again. Well, that one you are not being fair. And that one is not going to be acceptable. However, in terms of how members are supposed to generate their revenue, after has been pushing for them to really find good sources of raising internal revenue so they don't go and borrow outside. This is one of the keys that I've been talking about. So it's not going to be against anything if other member states begin to do whatever. After all, other member states are doing other things to generate revenue. And forget not, we are liberalizing over a period of about between 5 years to 10 years. The other countries who are not as strong as we are compared to the after structure, who are liberalized over 15 years longer. That means that we are supposed to find a quicker way of meeting the revenue gap compared to them. So the burden of proof here lies on us.
Absolutely.
So we have to really start putting a lot of but I think that all in all, I'm sure that the government will have a listening ear to review the rates.
Right. Okay, so let me come to you, Mr. Adumako, and find out whether you would want to suggest that e-transactions under AfCFTA perhaps be exempted from this e-levy. Is that possible?
I think it is possible, but the first thing to start from is how do we bring these tariffs down? Because already we do more businesses with outside African countries, Europeans, Americans, and Asians more than we do with ourselves. As time goes on, the African share of our trade is going to increase. And so for a start, we still need to bring the tariff down before we can consider whether AfCFTA countries should be exempted. Let me say this thing about government has lost revenue from AfCFTA, and so we needed to rake in additional revenue lines to fix in the gap. That is right. We don't dispute that. We know that the world is changing faster than we can even cope with. The Paris Climate Change Agreement also puts a lot of responsibility on the world to also shift from fossil fuel to clean energy. Very soon, our oil fields in Takoradi will be deserted. Why? Because cars that are coming from 2025 and 2030 will be what? Electronic cars. And there'll be no need for people to be going to the pump to pay for a fuel for the car. And at that time, government revenue will even suffer severe dip than even after. Already about 45% of the price we pay at the pump full of taxes. And so in Ghana, we'll wait until the problem comes when we are not getting any taxes there, and then government comes forward another taxes. Most countries have foreseen that this thing is going to come. And so they are investing in what? Research and development.
Right.
In other alternative sources that will bring them income to plug in the gap when those things come. But Ghana has always been, we wait till the last minute.
Yeah.
And this also brings into a question, how do we, the state value for research and development? How much is government giving to our research institutions to do research, to look at to scenario analysis, so that the academia and the research faculties can advise government on the best route to take for all these measures. But unfortunately, politicians do not look to the academia for advice to predict the future for them. Our system has been like a 4-year cycle, so we are more concerned about political planning more than future economic planning. But if we close our eyes, I bet you in 2030, crude oil, nobody will be buying crude oil again, because the cars that will be coming, as I told you, will be electric cars. And this same government will then say, look, because we are not buying crude, people are not buying fuel, then let us put taxes on what? Even the food that we eat.
Right.
And when you do that, some countries that saw this thing, these writings on the walls, look prepared for it and devise how to survive and become resilient. But you slept through the period of revolution, the period of change, like Rip Van Winkle, and woke up from the middle of the night and then just come up with taxes. I remember in 2014 when petroleum prices came down, government came up with the special petroleum tax, which was 17.5%.
Right.
Yes. And one of my friends has been saying that in Ghana, when we're not even having crude, it was even better for us. Now that the crude came, as soon as government revenue expectation goes down, government will want to take money from us again to meet its. So it would have been better for us if we didn't even have the crude. And so we need to be looking at Ghana beyond crude and prepare. But more generally onto the issue of the E-Levy.
Yeah.
If you look at the global share of the e-commerce trade, Africa is the least. And the phase 2 of AfCFTA negotiation also talks about e-commerce. And e-commerce is the way to go. And e-commerce means that people can sit at home and make payment. In Ghana, it is working very well. Go to Instagram, go to Facebook, you see item, you pay for it, they deliver it to you. Yes, that is the way the world is going. And we recently did a study for the GIZ, which was launched last 2 weeks. We saw this new trend whereby the appetite for people to go to the traditional market at Makola is dying. Everything is shifting. It's shifting to the malls and the electronic commerce. And so government should be looking at how do we integrate the traditional market into the commerce ecosystem, so that the revenue that is coming from there can also be. Maybe government could have considered e-commerce platform for Makola, maybe makola.com.gh, whereby anybody wants to buy anything from Makola, you go there, you pay for it, and the things get delivered to you. If we don't even take care, Amazon will even come and take advantage of the market, and then they will crowd out our mothers and aunties from the space. And that is what we should be looking at. We always don't see the writings on the wall. In this country, we don't see the writings on the wall. But I think that government needs to be forward-looking and to be able to predict. Of course, government should tap into the resource of its own people, because Ghanaians are very smart. Go to our universities, the faculties, they are all very good to help government make efficient and optimal decisions, because always the time, if anytime we have to make a quick decision, it becomes very costly because a lot of planning might have not gone into it, and this implementation would also be very, very difficult.
All right. Okay, so I'll come to you after this break. And when I come to you, I want you to tell us about the Pan-African Payment and Settlement Systems, that's the PAPS, which was introduced to facilitate fluidity and smoothness in terms of payments under AfCFTA. Whether you've actually taken time to examine it and see how it has fared so far. This is Metro TV, and the program is Our Import. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion. Please stay.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goil Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goil Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goil Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goil Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Tell God, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse. Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse, and my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Suddenly my goods are on the high seas covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance. Oh, Ajima, tell him more.
As a road contractor,
I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance
for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
All right, so you're welcome back. And tonight, our topic is assessing the impact of E-Levy on digital trading under the AfCFTA, that's Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And with me in the studios, Mr. Louis, our Afro trade practitioner and AfCFTA expert. He's also from the AfCFTA Policy Network Group. And also in the studios is Mr. Apia Kusi-Adomako, West Africa Regional Director, CATS International here in Accra. So let me come to you, Mr. Afol. I was talking about the PAPS, that's the Pan-African Payments and Settlement Systems, which was introduced primarily to aid smooth trading under AfCFTA. Have you examined how it has fared so far?
I think that it was still at the pilot stages. And Adomako, a quick back, Adomako was talking about the e-commerce structure. And I made mention that we should not forget about the distribution part of e-commerce. At the end of the day, the goods will surely have to move through some means. So I can be in my house, I can make an order for some pizza, but still it has to move. And so all those structure and e-commerce have to look at it carefully. And so if you look at that and you connect the dots, then you realize that there will be a payment system.
Right.
And so all these payment systems are all factored in a well-structured e-commerce approach. And therefore, we come back to our E-Levy issue. So Pan-African payment system was developed by Afrexim Bank, one of the regional banks taxed to support AfCFTA. Because as usual, cross-border payments are difficult. As usual, there is liquidity issues with the commercial banks, especially the timing, the validity, time validity, and also central banks' liquidity. So you realize that PAPS is connected to central banks, all African central banks, so that it is not about the currency value, it's about the rate of change, it's about the rate of denomination. So for example, if I am a trader here in Ghana, and I want to transact with transfer money to somebody in Nigeria, in those days I have to go to Nigeria or I have to denominate it in dollar before I can get Naira. So what PAPS is coming to do is that PAPS, you can transfer the money from CDs and the person will receive it in their own currency without going through all these bottlenecks. That is what PAPS seeks to do. And that is what will support the cross-border payment, and that is also going to help to reduce the long queuing, especially has to do with commercial banks when you're doing transfers. And as usual, as we know, when it comes to e-commerce, it's very fast because as we sit here, if I'm transferring money by Momo or transfer money, even somebody's transferring money from outside Africa through any of these medium, PayPal or Wave or whatever it is, it's to come in denominated teleco or Momo. The same way you realize that, unfortunately, you realize that if somebody is sending you $1 through Wave, the value is the same.
Right.
The same way, this one will look, I'm transferring money to somebody in Kinshasa. Whatever I'm going to transfer, all the cost on whatever it is, the person will receive it in exact value that the person is going to receive. And it is at the pilot stages. And this is good because it is connected to the central banks. But I always say that, for me, I've been a bit critical about it. It's good, but I'm always pushing for the fact that a time should come that we should be really keen about our one currency. Because this is just a matter of payment settlement. Okay, it does not change our currency volatility. Which is something we have to work at.
Right.
If we are really to see the success of one African market. Because at the end of the day, look at ECO. ECO went up a bit, and then at the end of the day, it slowed down. Why? Because we wanted to have one common currency in West Africa. The difficulty is that you need to have a productive economies that will anchor it. So at the end of the day, though we have PAPS right now, it's not going to solve the problem in the future, the biggest problem in the future. The biggest problem is going to be the fact that we'll solve our productive capacities and edge towards a one currency, where then it will be like in a one African market, everything will be free. You move here freely, you transfer this freely, you can have a certain currency, all will be denominated in. That is one of the areas that we see ourselves going. So for me, the encouragement is that it opens doors for a lot of startups that are coming. Startups, a lot of transfer apps, that can really sit close to this PAPS. This is one, and it's not the end of the day. It's not the end of the road. There is a need for other alternative payment settlement to start coming up from member states.
Right.
That is one of the things I am foreseeing. So if you ask me about PAPS, this is the way it's actually going. It's a settlement payment platform for cross-border payments.
Okay. I'll put the same question to you, but let me announce my producer tells me to activate the phone lines right now, and so the number to dial is 02055283353, 02055283353. You can call into the show and then contribute. Let us know what your thoughts are on this discussion, on this topic. Yes, so Mr. Adumako, the PAPS, what's your assessment of it?
I think it's going to resolve and make after trading very efficient. As Louis said, the tools of international trade was developed by the colonial masters and Europe and America. And so if you want to send money from somebody in Nigeria, it has to go to London or New York before the person gets the money.
Yeah.
Even when they talk about shipping lines, if you want to ship goods from Accra to Lomé, which is even less than 200 kilometers, the ship moves from Accra to Madrid before it can come back to Lomé. And so it doesn't make any sense to ship your goods by sea. You have to ship them by the roads, and we know the challenges of the road. But elsewhere, sea freight has been the best tool of shipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so as a way of kind of reducing our overexposure to the global powers in terms of payment system, the PAPS has been created to make after trading very, very efficient, and also kind of not to be a tool of sanctions by the Western powers. You know, quite recently, or 2 or 3 years ago, Iran also received, when America puts a sanction on you, it means that you cannot even use the SWIFT to receive remittance into your country, because the SWIFT is their product. Even if they say that, look, Visa card, Ghana, they are cutting from the usage of Visa card, it means that you can't use Visa because Visa belongs to them.
Yeah.
And so PAPS is Pan-African, and I think it's the way to go. And I think that we also need to expand it to other payment platforms, not just, inter-country, but then like a card system whereby you go to China, China has their China Union Pay, which is independent of the Visa, MasterCard, or the American Express. These are some of the things that we need to have our African or indigenous African brand, so that once we are trading, we know that we are not susceptible or vulnerable to the international geopolitics of the world. And I can foresee in future how foreign powers can even start to infiltrate into our after when they see things working. So if we have our own ecosystem for our payment, I think that will be very helpful, and PAPS has shown the way.
Right. Okay, so let me do some messages. This one says, good evening, Iron Port. Very interesting discussion. I have just broadened my knowledge on the AfCFTA. Kindly ask your guests if the object of the Continental Free Trade Area will be achieved when countries are likely to lose revenue. Let me put that to you, Louis.
Not necessarily. As I indicated earlier, you realize that you have the economies of Africa have been put into 3 categories. The developed countries of Africa, where Ghana is one of them, meaning that the economy is so good that they can liberalize over a period of 5 years to 10 years. To the layman, when they say liberalize, it means that he will be reducing the tax on export, or when somebody export goods, he will be reducing its duties prices gradually until a certain period that it will not take taxes on them again. Now, other categories of countries don't have that capacity. So they will be liberalized over a period of 10 years and over. Then we have the group of 6 that are so volatile that they will liberalize for a very long time. Now, what it means is that there are certain category of products. It's not all products. About 90% of products, which is within the common tariff system, external tariff. ECOWAS is an external tariff system. So it means that you can move freely to one country, from Nigeria to here, and certain commodities are similar, and go to the ETLS. Now, what it means is that there are certain commodities that when you are taking tariff on, it has a certain reduced level. And it is different from, in fact, most of our revenues are coming from imported goods outside Africa. That's one of the key things we should know. The African Continental Free Trade, most of the products that are going to be liberalized, in fact, the revenue from it, and most countries are not going to feel it so much compared. Why? Because most of the products are not so much value added. And if you compare to the value added products that are coming from outside Africa, if those ones were going to be as free coming into a preferential treatment, then you are going to suffer serious heavy revenue. But you could realize that about 60%, let me say, about 70% of our revenue, which is still going to come from value-added products that are going to be coming from importation from outside Africa, are still going to be intact at the port. However, within the 90% product, most of these products are agricultural products, textile, and they have not reached the value at that stages where you have pricing so high that when you say you are giving free trade to it, free tariff lines, it's going to affect. Again, Afreximbank have put a system of shock. We call it a shock absorber for certain countries that will struggle within the first 2 years of operationalization because of the tariff reduction, so that they'll give them certain credit lines for 2 years, so that they can be able to support them. So they are such kind of what do you call it mechanisms put in place. So it's not all lost within the early stages as it looks like. No.
All right. Okay. Do you want to attempt that one too? Okay. This one says, good evening, Mr. Host and your cherished viewers. Thank you for the good work you're doing for the good people of Ghana. For my part, on this E-Levy issue, I think the government of the day should readjust the percentage on E-Levy in order that the poor can also afford. And this one's from Emmanuel Kwame Nyapo from Anoga, Botogbo, in the Volta region. He adds, Metro TV, you do all. Thank you very much indeed, Emmanuel, for your text message. We're grateful to you. So, like I said, my producer says the phone lines are activated. If you want to call in and discuss and contribute to the discussion, please. That's the phone line on your screen, 020-552-8353. You can call in and then let's see what you have for us. So, you probably would want to tell us about e-commerce. And then the first phase of AfCFTA, what work CATS has done, in respect of this, and what your assessment, what your findings are at the moment. Okay,
so the phase 2 of AfCFTA negotiation is on e-commerce, intellectual property, competition, and investment protocols. Okay. Hold your fire, please. I'll come back to you. But let's welcome King David from the Volta region onto the show. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm terrific, by His grace. Thanks for asking.
Thank you. This good show for we, the importers and exporters, for these good explanations. Yeah. Please, I want to ask, can you people teach us the platform that we can go to anytime we import, and among that import charges that we have to pay on that goods as an importer or exporter? Do we have any platform that we can go through?
Any platform?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Keep watching. Mr. Afo would attempt that.
Okay.
Thank you very much indeed, King David. We are grateful. All right. So
a quick one. I think that in terms of platform, very soon there is what we call the Africa Trade Observatory, where all the tariff, that is the job that I think for now a lot of us and the Ministry of Trade should be doing together. We have to publish the tariff lines at this website called Africa Trade Observatory. So the tariff website will tell you all the various products per country, what they have liberalized. So that when you are importing from, let's say, an oil is made in Togo, and Ghana says, I've liberalized it, you can bring that product from Togo, and it will have to go to a duty-free. Right. That is the kind of site. And then again, you should also work closely, go to the incomes. The customs, Ghana customs have had all the code, harmonized all the codes of AfCFTA products. Right. And that is one of the things that I think that have made Ghana a step ahead. So these two institutions, the one is the website, the other one is the customs, and then you also can go to the Ghana AfCFTA coordinating office, which is a mandated, authorized Ghana AfCFTA office working closely with the Secretariat and the people of Ghana. And if above all you find it difficult, you can contact APN, CATS, or Ministry of Trade for this kind of details.
Right. Okay. So you're telling us about phase 2 and e-commerce as far as AfCFTA is concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the phase 1 negotiation led to the treaty that led to the formation of the AfCFTA. Now, it was very helpful for member states and AU not to bundle everything together because investment protocols needs a lot of time. And so that one was kind of decoupled from the first phase of the negotiation because they wanted to start from the beginning, and then once trading has resumed, then other protocols could also be negotiated. So we are looking at the phase 2 intellectual property, investment, competition, and e-commerce. And these four protocols are going to also support AfCFTA. Because look, if you want to trade across Africa, you need to have an e-commerce platform, an e-commerce policy. And the e-commerce policy, you're also looking at taxes.
Yeah.
Because if I'm in Ghana and I buy a product online from South African company, which country should receive the taxes? Already, when we buy product online from Amazon and you are shipping it to Ghana, and the product is being shipped, the rules of taxation says that the receiving country, the location where the item is going to be used, should be the one that should benefit from the tax. But big tech, when I say big tech, I'm looking at Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and those multinational technology companies. They are not in tune in terms of allowing countries to receive. Recently, there was a conference in the UK where it was agreed that it allows 20% of their revenues to be taxed for countries to receive their share of the taxation. Yeah, and so the e-commerce protocol that will come, the test is still being worked out. It's not final. I mean, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done on it. Once it comes, it's going to provide us the framework for e-commerce, the rules and regulations, and the redress mechanisms, and what are the obligations that member states have to do, and what are also obligations on businesses. Yeah. And I'm very confident that already the UNTAD, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, is providing support, and they shared a template to guide the discussion. And I know that Africa is the last of the continent to get on board the e-commerce. And I know that once it becomes successful, e-commerce, already without even that protocol, people are still doing e-commerce. And the e-commerce is also going to increase a lot of trade, business across borders, logistics, like, for example, DHL, FedEx. Unfortunately, too, we also don't have African-owned logistic companies to be moving goods by air to Africa. If you want to ship goods from here to South Africa or to, let's say, Kenya, by air with DHL, it may have to go to from Accra, DHL, from Accra to Abuja, Accra to Lagos, and they go to I think Brussels before it comes back to the African country. All these things because we also don't owe trade infrastructure and trade logistics. And this also provides opportunity for African businesses to invest in logistics services, because e-commerce is going to be the future of, the wave of the future, because people will no longer be walking to the shop to buy things. Today, the past weekend was for Black Friday. So if I'm looking online and I see a very good product from South Africa, which is cheaper, because if it qualifies under rules of origin, I know that once it gets to Accra, there'll be no taxes on them. If they also look at the freight charges, as $20 on top of it will not be bad, so let me buy it. And that will also see an increased trade among African countries. But as I mentioned, the key challenge is that African ownership on logistics is very weak. And that is where it calls for huge investment and African entrepreneurs to also take advantage of the opportunity that the e-commerce will bring. Right.
Okay. So let me come to you, and perhaps we would wrap up pretty much shortly. But I want to find out from you whether you think it's important for government to, as it were, have a stakeholder engagement with the likes of you. That's the After Policy Network Group, and then CAT International, to see how best we can have a seamless and smooth implementation of this particular E-Levy thing.
Exactly. Government cannot do all. I always say that if you want the people to understand there's a Chinese problem, tell them what they will understand. We are mostly there with the people. We go to them, research, engagements here and there. Engage us in your policy decision making. Engage us in your capacity building. And we will divulge the information. In any case, when this whole AfCFTA issue started, APN started sensitization being way ahead of Ministry of Trade, Information, Trade and Industry.
Yeah.
And so we need to engage us. Let us go back and explain to the people even what digital trading is about. What is E-Levy?
Yeah.
Because, Admaku made mention of just some aspect of the e-trading, digital trading. It's what has come to say it's not only about the trade, digital currency as well. And so, for example, those who it's the best sector now. If you want to go into digital trading, apart from the fact that you are the seller of the goods, it's a chain. When I say it's a chain, what I mean is that you might not be the one selling the final goods, but I can be part of the chain. I might be a graphic designer. I can help you with your pricing too. And people who are in that industry should be very, very, very proactive.
Yeah.
For example, you can't go to Amazon and then you don't have stock, and then the same product is online.
Yeah.
And then people keep asking, and you don't respond to their messages or their requests. No. So you have to engage all these kind of chains. Somebody to help you with your pricing, somebody to help you with your design, somebody to help you with your stock, inventory, all part of it. So that quickly, once somebody put a request, I want this product, and you don't have, you quickly respond to that.
Yeah.
So that's the part out. Then you come to the logistics as you was talking about. So it means that to be part of the digital trade, you might not be the final person, but you would like to be in the distribution view.
Right.
You take, for example, as we see, you order for pizza, by the time you realize a kind of a tricycle or motor or something presented, it's part of the chain.
Yeah.
And so, apart from the fact that we're looking at digital trade, we have to look at digital currency as well. And I'm happy that the central bank said they are going to look into that, because currently, if the fiat or the traditional currency is also having issues, digital trade will go with digital currency. And so we must look at all this in a broader perspective. And so I think that, yes, that engagement,
is very crucial.
Institutions like us are always open our arms to welcome if government wants us to support in terms of the capacity and sensitization of such kind of...
right. Okay. So thank you very much, Mr. Louis Yaoafo. He's a trade practitioner and After Expert. He's also from the After Policy Network Group. And Mr. Pierre Kusi-Adumako, West Africa Regional Director, CAPS International here in Accra. We deeply appreciate your time. Thank you very much for obliging us here on Iron Port. We believe that as and when the need arises and we give you a call, you would always, honor us. Viewers, this is Howard Ketting on tonight's edition of Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. Remember, we've been discussing an assessment of the E-Levy on digital trading as far as AfCFTA is concerned. God willing, next week we shall come your way again with another wonderful edition of Iron Port. Many thanks to our sponsors, Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Ghana Revenue Authority, Goil Company Limited, Serene Insurance, and the Ghana Link Network Services. They are operators of the Integrated Customs Management System at our port. Remember, the abridged version of the show is aired on Ghana Television at 8:30 p.m. every Wednesday. Good evening and have a super week ahead.